Hey y'all, it's me, Kevvie. It's my birthday. So as promised, here's my Q&A for y'all. I had originally planned on doing a Q&A for 500 subs, but now that happened concurrently with my birthday, I got to double dip. Thank y'all so much for 500 subs. And thank you to everybody who watches, likes, and comments on my videos. I really appreciate all of you, and I'm glad you enjoy my antics. Now let's get right into these questions. Oh, but first, I'm gonna have too many links to put up in the cards wherever they go, so if I refer to another video or performance or some sort of link, it'll be in the description below. Okay, let's go. I've arranged my questions into categories. First up, I've got questions about drag. Lori Romer asked, where was your first drag performance? My very first drag performance was at my college. I helped organize the event and it was a mostly student cast. The video of that show is actually up on my YouTube channel. I performed 2 numbers, Ivy Levon's Biscuit, and a mix of Telephone, Opulence, and Your Makeup is Terrible. And I gotta say, I'm still pretty proud of them. Kim at Middle of the Book March and Michelle Lexi asked, what's your favorite drag performance you've done? No question, my all-time favorite performance I've ever done was Madonna's Like a Prayer. This is one of my hugging performances that I like to do to close out the shows that I host. I like to end by going into the audience and hugging everyone and thanking them for being there. I feel like it erases the line between spectator and performer. Now we're all part of this show and coming together in a moment of love, unity, and togetherness. I've done these hugging performances many times, but it's never been as magical as Like a Prayer. I can still feel the powerful, uplifting energy radiating from this video every time I watch it. And the outfit I'm wearing was designed by my best friend Kipple. Michelle also asked, who is your favorite artist to lip sync? My favorite artist to perform is actually Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, that weird YouTube series. So far I've performed all of their songs except the time one and the finale. The booktube goddess asked, what is your favorite and least favorite part of drag? My favorite part of drag is that it's the perfect outlet for my creativity. I love coming up with weird and silly concepts and bringing them to life on stage or on screen. My least favorite part of drag is the fandoms. A lot of drag fans think that because they've watched drag on TV, that they are somehow expert judges, and they can be really cruel. Many of them also expect us to be infallible, as if we weren't human, and will go to extreme lengths to harm us when we mess up. Just about every single queen you have seen on TV has gotten death threats. It's fucked up. Courtney Ferreter asked, are you watching the current season of Dragula? If so, who are you rooting for? And which boulé is your favorite? Bitter Betty is one of my favorite queens of all time. I've known her since I first started attending drag shows in Chicago. I'd see her on stage wearing next to nothing, performing dated, campy music, and I knew that someday I wanted to be like her. She's also been an outspoken activist for trans women in drag for over a decade, and is never afraid to call out RuPaul's bigotry. I'm so happy that she's been given this platform and finally has an opportunity to shine. And I can't answer the second half of your question because I honestly don't know the difference. Oh, and you asked if I'm watching. I haven't been watching the show, but I am editing a review show for Ryan Stone and Narcissica Vanity called Stoned. Every week they unpack the episode and share their thoughts on the contestants and their looks. Links to that will be in the description. Nell and Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot asked, who is your favorite drag artist? Do you have a drag mother? What's she like? We loved you on Camp Anakiki. Have you ever applied for any other shows? My favorite drag queens of all time are The Vixen, Kimora Hall, and Sarah Andrews, now Bitter Betty. I've been a fan of them all for years, way before they ever went on TV, and I'm thrilled that they now have these huge platforms. So I started out life as a drag orphan. I did not have a drag mother. Although after a few years of performing, I got adopted by a drag wren, or non-binary parent, and my wren is Patty Duke Ellington. Patty is awesome. They traveled the country as part of a band back in the 70s called the Starkist Tuna Band. Writes all their own music and always sings live. Their voice is unlike anything I've ever heard, and I encourage you to check them out. And you'll notice Patty Duke Ellington is the one harmonizing during my Like a Prayer performance that I mentioned earlier. Those vocals really bring extra magic to that number. I have applied to other shows, but I don't intend to do so anymore. Like I said, drag fandoms are not friendly, and I got enough hate just on the show that I was involved in. I just couldn't handle the amount of hate I'd receive on a bigger platform, so I'm not gonna put myself out there like that. Rosie Cockshut asked, if you could make everyone read one book about drag history, what would it be? This is such an excellent question. It's so hard to choose just one book, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Mother Camp by Esther Newton. It may be a little outdated in some ways, but this book lays the groundwork for all future research on the subject. Any drag history education should begin with this book. That question perfectly segues into our next category, books. Lori Romer and Sam from Paper Not Books asked, when did you discover your love for Christie? And Lori also asked, when did you decide to go on booktube? I knew I loved Agatha Christie long before I started reading her. I would watch every adaptation I could find, and even read a couple of her books here and there. But I would say the moment I began to properly love her was last October when I first read The Pale Horse. I loved reading it so much that for the next 4 or 5 months, I read nothing but Agatha Christie. And during that time, I had nobody to talk to about these books. So I decided to look on YouTube and see if there was anybody else talking about them on here. Turns out there were. So I watched these Agatha Christie videos for a few weeks. Then I realized, wait a minute, I can do that. And I did. Kim at Middle of the Book March asked, you read a lot of books on your Kindle. Would you like to have a home library someday? Absolutely. While I was in school, I always loved going to my professors' offices and just seeing the wall of books. And it's been a dream of mine to someday have a wall like that. Rachel Fryman asked, what is your favorite and least favorite book ever? That is such a hard question. I'm so bad at choosing just one favorite. I think for the sake of not overwhelming myself with options, I'll just go with The Great Mistake by Mary Roberts Rinehart. And my least favorite as The Clocks by Agatha Christie. Oh wait, or that Nazi book. That was shit. Larry from Larry Has Opinions asked, what 3 books would you take with you if you were stranded on a desert island? Ooh, this is another hard question. I think the first book I would definitely take would be The Great Mistake. I love the characters in that world, and I would love to escape back there often. I'd bring Jim Flint, the boy from Peoria, so that I could always remember my history. And finally, I would take The Stand by Stephen King, because being stranded with nothing else to do would be the only time I would read a book so huge. Nell and Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot asked, do you find it more enjoyable when a novel stumps you or when you figure out all the clues? And if you could be any Christie protagonist in an off-Broadway production, which would you be? I prefer it when I figure it out. Realizing that I have correctly put all the pieces together to solve the whodunit gives me such a rush. The only time I got that kind of rush when I didn't guess it was in Agatha Christie's Appointment with Death. And while she isn't the protagonist, I'd want to be the villainous Mrs. Boynton from Appointment with Death. Easily one of Christie's least likable characters. She is a wicked woman, and her entire family wants her dead. Berna from Berna's Bookish Adventures asked, who was your favorite author as a child? Berna and Sam from Paper Knots Books also asked, did you always love mystery books? I can't recall having a favorite author as a child. If anything, I guess I would have to say the Harry Potter series. And I didn't get much exposure to mystery novels as a kid. I remember reading The Westing Game for school, and that was about it. I loved mystery films and TV shows, though, so it was only a matter of time. I just didn't consider translating that interest to books until a couple of years ago. Peter from P English Literature asked, what book by an indie author captivated you? Have you ever read an autobiography that pulled you in? For the indie book, I would choose Darryl by Jackie Ess. That's a book that sounds really strange on paper, but it is so funny and complex and sweet. I really loved it. My favorite autobiography is Hunger by Roxane Gay. It's about her experience as a fat woman, and it really changed my life and my understanding of myself. Next, we're into the other category, questions on various other topics. Kipple asked, what are your top 3 favorite fast foods? That is so easy. White Castle, Panda Express, and Buffalo Wild Wings. Kilda Man asked, what are some of your favorite restaurants in Chicago? My favorite pizza ever comes from a Chicago place called Barnaby's. The fast food chain Portillo's is almost exclusive to the Chicagoland area, so anyone coming to town needs to go there. And my all-time favorite French restaurant is La Crêperie. They make excellent, authentic crepes, as well as great French onion soup. Gina Stanier asked, what kind of music do you like? I like so many kinds of music. I'm all about the pop divas. Britney, Kylie, Cher, Janet, Madonna, Gaga, Cindy, Jessie J, Rihanna, Beyonce, and so on. I also love female rappers, my favorite of which being Sister Souljah, Azealia Banks, and Brooke Candy. Then the majority of what I've listened to in the past couple of years has come from 2 playlists. The first I call That Good Gay Shit is all love songs by lesbians and queer women. It's a variety of genres, but mostly indie and dance. My favorite artists on the playlist are Mercy Bell, LP, King Princess, Tegan and Sarah, and Kiana Key. My other playlist is called Hugs, which is a collection of songs that feel like a warm hug and things that I would perform during my hugging performances. Mostly mid to slow tempo pop songs about friendship and supporting and uplifting each other. Favorites on this playlist include Stand By You by Rachel Platten, You're Worth It by Cimarelli, and Perfect by Pink. I'll link both those playlists in the description if you want to listen. My all-time favorite songs ever are Madonna's Like a Prayer and Janet Jackson's Together Again. My recent faves include Comeback by Carly Rae Jepsen, Confetti by Little Mix, and Rumors by Lizzo. Katya from Read, Write, Create asked, what is your dream holiday destination? It would be a dream come true if I could spend the rest of my life on a cruise. I have been blessed with the opportunity to go on a cruise before, and oh my gosh, it is divine. All the food you could ever want. The ship constantly gently rocking, so you always feel tipsy even when you're sober, and nothing but water to the horizon wherever you look. Oh, it's so much fun, and I really look forward to the day when I can go on a cruise again. Tracy from Tea Time with Tracy and Violet asked, what are some encouraging words of wisdom you would say for helping others through their journey of discovering themselves? Thank you, Tracy, and that's a beautiful question. I'd say that some people are going to hate you no matter what you do, whether you conform or you stand out. It's better to be hated for being yourself than for being something you're not. At least by living authentically, you will also have people who genuinely love you for who you are, who will drown out all the wickedness. Also, it's okay if you don't figure out who you are all at once right away. Nobody has all of the answers. Identity and language for identity are constantly evolving, culturally and individually. So it's okay to try on a few hats before you find the one that fits. Jeremy Fee asked, how would you like a sequel to The Golden Girls? Who would you cast on the show, and would you want Betty White to appear in the premiere to pass on the torch? I would love a Golden Girls reboot. There sort of was a sequel series to The Golden Girls immediately after the original series ended. It was called The Golden Palace, and it had all of the main cast except for Dorothy, and they sold their home to buy a hotel. I've not watched it. For the sake of my sanity, I like to ignore how the series ended, and watching The Golden Palace would force me to come to terms with that ending, and I just can't do it. There was also a show a while back that was sort of a spiritual successor to Golden Girls called Hot in Cleveland, starring Valerie Burton Ernie, Jane Leaves, Wendy Malick, and Betty White as the Sophia-like character. That was a really fun show, and I still have much of the pilot memorized from the amount of times I've watched it. Then last year, there was a Golden Girls reenactment done on Zoom. When I first heard about it, I thought it was going to be a proper remake, and I was disappointed that it wasn't. But it was still a cool program, and I loved their cast. It had Regina King as Dorothy, Sana Lathan as Blanche, Tracy Ellis Ross as Rose, and the iconic Alfre Woodard as Sophia. I would love to see them make another Golden Girls series with that cast. Although maybe switching Regina and Tracy. And yes, of course, Betty White would have to make an appearance. Jack from Spread Book Joy said, I would love to hear more about your knowledge of art and art history. Where did your love for it all start? Do you create art yourself? Also completely unrelated, but who is your favorite Golden Girl? So I have always loved art and museums, but I never properly cultivated that passion until I went to college. I took art history as an elective, and the professor was so cool that I wanted to take every class with her that I possibly could. So then I became an art history student. I've also been blessed to live so close to some of the biggest and best art museums in the world. Of course, there's the Art Institute of Chicago, as well as the Museum of Contemporary Art, but the city is also full of smaller, more specialized museums, like the Ed Paschke Art Center. I do create some art myself. While my primary medium is drag and videos, I also took a couple screen printing classes and had a lot of fun with that. And I'm sorry, I simply cannot answer your last question. I do not have a favorite Golden Girl, and I couldn't pick one if I wanted to. I love them all, and I love them together. Hannah from Hannah's Books asked, is there a character you see as an alter ego or inspiration? Absolutely. The character I've always deeply identified with is Butters from South Park. He is just the sweetest little thing. He's just always so positive and bubbly, pretty gullible, but always sees the best in people. I also stole a few of his lines when I went to camp. Oh, hamburgers. Oh, speaking of South Park, I actually stole my outro from that show. In the season 11 episode, The List, there's an all-girls committee that begins every motion with, "If it pleases and sparkles." Lynette Zozette asked, can you remember who your very first crush was? So I feel like I must have had some crushes as a kid and just not understood what they were. But the first proper celebrity crush I had was Zephron. Christopher Jameson asked, what are you having for your birthday? Well, last night my mom and I got a real good pizza with sausage and garlic. And after filming this, we're going out with my family for Mexican. Teacup the Storyteller asked, I'd love to know which colors you've dyed your hair and which was your favorite. Also, which is your favorite film and why? The majority of the time, I color my hair purple. I like to say it's my natural color. I'll occasionally go blue or green, but I always come back to purple. I am so bad at picking a favorite because there are so many that I love so much. So here, just rapid fire. Murder on the Orient Express, Lady Vanishes, Witness for the Prosecution, Clue, Polyester, Cecily Demented, Serial Mom, Crimes of the Heart, Legally Blonde, Mary and Max, The Producers, Delicatessen, Anomaly, Run Little Run, and Halloween. Helen Claire asked, apart from the obvious regarding her disappearance, what one question would you ask Agatha Christie? What would be your last meal on death row? And have you been to the UK? If I could ask Christie anything, I would probably ask her if she could cool it with her racism. I absolutely couldn't choose a singular last meal, so I'd probably just say a combination of all the things I said in my food questions. And no, I have not been to the UK yet, but I really would love to. Julie from The Hungry Bookworm asked, can you remember the first book you ever read, and how do you go about being so confident in yourself and letting the world see the real you? I don't think I can remember the first book I read. However, the earliest book I remember reading, or having read to me, was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. My dad and I would lay in bed and read it together. My advice for becoming more confident is just to fake it till you make it. I've always had a complicated relationship with my body and was deeply ashamed of it. But then I figured if I wanted to see more representation of people like me, then I had to be the one doing it. I'm sure a lot of y'all haven't seen just how revealing my drag can be. I show a lot of skin, but that just isn't safe for social media. When I first started doing that in drag, I was so uncomfortable, but people loved it and gassed me up, and over time I began to love it too. Dane from Dane Reads asked, what can I do to be a little more fabulous? I would say that fabulous comes from within. Do whatever makes you feel comfortable and confident, and the fabulous will follow. Alrighty, now I have a whole bunch of birthday gifts to share with y'all. First up is my bestie Kipple. Kip and I have been best friends since high school, and even though we live across the country from each other, we still talk on the phone every day. Kipple got me Fearing the Black Body, The Racial Origins of Fat Phobia by Sabrina Strings. I've been wanting to read this book for so long, and it sounded really good. Thank you so much, Kip. Next up is Rachel Fryman. Rachel Fryman is that awesome booktuber who does all those readathons like the Golden Girls and Bob's Burgers. Her readathons are always so much fun, and more of y'all need to participate. Rachel got me Volume 1 of the Love Stage manga. Love Stage is one of my favorite anime, and I'm so excited to finally read the manga. Love Stage is a yaoi, a gay romance, where one of the boys is a drag queen. It's so cute and so gay, and oh, I just love it. Thank you, Rachel. Next up is Kim at Middle of the Book March. Kim is awesome. I really enjoy her channel. I love her weekly My Bookish Week videos that always begin with a sarcastic quip. She got me Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. I recently read Tipping the Velvet by Sarah Waters, and I absolutely loved it. So I'm so excited to finally get my hands on Fingersmith. Thank you, Kim. Lynette Zozette, being an international viewer, wasn't able to order directly from the wish list. Instead, she sent me money to buy a couple books, and since she always engages in my Agatha Christie content, I chose to get the two Christies that I'm most hyped for, Sad Cypress and Evil Under the Sun. Thank you, Lynette. Katie Griffith has been supporting my channel for a while now. She gave me the Stephen King novel Gerald's Game. This is the Stephen King novel I have been most interested in reading. It sounds horrifying in all the best ways. So looking forward to reading this one. Thank you so much, Katie. Nell and Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot are one of my favorite booktube channels. I always listen to their recommendations because I have found several favorite books through them. They sent me this beautiful bag that says Perfectly Wicked, which I don't know if it's referring to anything in particular, but it makes me think of the musical in the book Wicked by Gregory Maguire, which I love. And then inside the bag was one of my favorite Poirot novels, Murder on the Links. Thank you both for this sweet and generous gift. Sam from Paper Knots Books has a really fun channel. She needs more subs though, so get on over there and subscribe to her. Lately, she's been doing this really cool voiceover thing with her videos. You should go check it out. She sent me a gift card, which I used to get the new thriller Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney, and the second book from Steve Kavanaugh's Eddie Flint series, The Plea. I am so excited for these. Thank you so much. Now, another gift was sent to me through the book depository, but unfortunately it didn't say who it was from. So somebody bought me Tender is the Flesh. I've been really interested in this book ever since I read a couple other books on cannibalism earlier this year. It's an Argentinian novel about a dystopian future where humans are raised as cattle. Oh, it sounds really cool. So thank you to whoever bought me that. Let me know who you were in the comments, please. Thank you. Also, according to the wish list, I've been given two other books from Steve Kavanaugh's Eddie Flint series, Twisted and The Liar. I didn't get an email link for them though, which means the gift giver probably got me a physical copy, which just hasn't arrived yet. So I don't know who bought them for me, but thank you so much, and I will thank you properly once I know your identity. Oh my gosh, this was such a great birthday haul, and y'all asked me so many excellent questions. Thank you so much for being a part of my channel. I couldn't do any of this without all of your support. Hugs. Did you connect with any of my answers? Or did one of my birthday gifts catch your attention? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if it pleases and sparkles, I'll see you in the next video. Mwah!